What's up, y'all? So I'm out here in the middle of the night. This is just a cool little spot. Hopefully, there's not too much going on. It's like 2 in the morning right now, so shouldn't have anything bugging me. I mean, there's a little street right here, so there might be some cars coming by, but other than that, should be nothing bugging me. That's why I come out here. Everybody's asleep at the house right now, so I didn't want to be loud or anything. And I don't like making videos indoors anyway, unless I had like a nice studio or something, which I don't have. So that's what we're working with. But anyway, I just kind of want to talk about a couple things that I think are really relevant. I think a lot of people may not understand these things. And I was actually talking to a friend last night. And I was talking about a lot of this stuff. And he was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." And I'm like, "Oh, I thought, some of the stuff I thought like everybody kind of knew, but I guess not, And I think it at least needs to be clarified, if not, introduced to some people for the first time. So anyway, I was talking about the government first. I was talking about how it's set up. It's a democracy, and we elect people, and they're supposed to represent our interests. They're called representatives in the House of Representatives, but we elect them. And they're supposed to, we choose who we want to go to the Senate, to the House of Representatives. That's on a federal level, and the president, and then in the states, and the mayor, and stuff like that. We choose all these people, right? And sometimes people choose carelessly by voting straight ticket. So, they just say, I'm either a Democrat or Republican or this or that, and they'll just say straight ticket. And they'll just, anybody that's, in either one of those parties, you just voted for them blindly. And that's quite often how we get people that really aren't good people in certain public offices, because people just blindly vote like that. And the thing is, it's super important, the roles that these people play, because they're in charge of so much. And we'll get into that. But so yeah, the people we elect, we're supposed to choose good people that we think are trustworthy and all the other types of stuff. And they're supposed to represent our interests. We are their constituents. They're supposed to represent our interests, okay? So on the federal level, we have the House of Representatives, and there's a whole bunch of those representatives. And then in the Senate, which is the other house of Congress, we have 2 senators for each state. And they all served, I think it's 6 years in the Senate. I think it's 2 in the House of Representatives. But, they vote on bills. So basically people will write up bills, which are basically, laws or whatever. And they'll bring them up in front of either the House of Representatives first or the Senate. And, they'll vote on it. The representatives that we elect will vote on that. We as America, the representatives come from all over America, right? And so they vote, and if it goes through in one house, they'll send it to the other house, and they'll vote on it. And if it goes through both, then it'll go to the president, and he signs it into law. And, so they pass a lot of laws that affect what people are allowed to do, you can't do certain drugs even if you want to. There's laws that tell you gotta get your car registered, for instance, and you gotta get licenses for this or whatever. There's a whole bunch of different stuff. They kind of affect people's lives personally, and then they affect what businesses can and can't do, which is actually necessary in my opinion in a lot of cases. But then what is one of the most important things, I think, is they pass tax bills, and they basically decide how much money they're gonna take from your paycheck. And we have a federal income tax here in America, and I'm in Texas. Some states have a state income tax as well, so you got the state governments taking even more money out of their paychecks. But we have a federal income tax, and they basically just take a percentage out of your paycheck, depending on what tax bracket you're in. And that goes into the federal budget. And then these representatives that we elect to represent our interest, they're supposed to spend that money on stuff that benefits us, you know what I mean? Because they're our representatives, and that is our money, okay? That's the whole concept of taxation, it's supposed to be put toward things that benefit people. So like locally, for instance, there's land tax, okay, in different counties and stuff, okay, and that goes to stuff like schools, you know what I mean, and maybe, I don't know, firefighters and cops and, police, whatever, cops, police, okay, but maybe roads, I don't know, it goes to whatever, it goes to local stuff. The stuff on a federal level, it should still benefit us, and a lot of it does. We have certain programs. We got Social Security, you got welfare for people that don't have any money, and then there's those emergency relief funds. For instance, I'm in Houston, and we got flooded during Hurricane Harvey a couple years ago, and FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Association or something like that, they gave Houston like $4 billion to help repair stuff, and so that's money that went into the budget, and that's all it is, just like a pool of money, and it's supposed to be spent on stuff that benefits us, you see. Now, the thing that is such a problem is sometimes these politicians, they have other ideas, okay? So, we're supposed to be really, thorough when we evaluate these people before we elect them, you know what I mean? And there's a whole process, and actually half of the process people don't see. There's ways that these candidates get on the ballot before you even really see them in some cases. And so it's almost like a pre-selection going on before you even see who else had a chance, you know what I mean? And but the problem is some of these politicians seem to have their own ideas about things, and the truth is that there's a car coming that might interrupt this video, so I'm gonna pause it real quick, but I'm gonna tell you what the truth is in 1 second. Give me a second. Alright, so the car went by, but anyway, the truth is about this whole situation is that these politicians, when they're running for office, they receive donations from people, and quite often they'll receive donations from some really rich people, or even corporations, or people that represent corporations, or one way or another they're getting money, and a lot of the people that have money in this world are already very influential, okay, and then they have enough money to give to certain politicians to help them actually get elected. And then these politicians, if they do get elected thanks to the favors of some of these rich people or big corporations or whatever, they'll kind of go return that favor one way or another to these corporations, and that's called lobbying. Kind of, lobbying, there's probably a little bit more to it, but generally speaking, yeah, people give campaign donations, help people get elected, and then when these politicians get in office, they try to return that favor, kind of, and really what happens is a lot of that money that you give them, that is your money, that's supposed to be spent on stuff that benefits you, they'll kind of probably take some of it, toss it this way, or toss it that way, help this guy out, help that guy out, and they do it in really subtle ways. It's funny because a lot of politicians are lawyers, and I'm pretty sure a lot of them figure out like the legal loopholes of all of that before they run for office. And once they got it all figured out, they're like, hey, like I get in here, I can take this money and send it over here, this way and that way. A lot of these politicians, they have like these nonprofit organizations, and they'll receive donations like one way or another, like in their little nonprofit. And, after maybe they pass a bill that benefits these guys or something like that, there's a lot of, and that's really just corruption. Like that's flat out, political corruption. And, a lot of people call it special interest, stuff like that. It's corruption, it's, people taking advantage of their political, situation, or whatever, the political position, and instead of fulfilling their duty to the people, faithfully, they're kind of self-interested, and they use that position to probably enrich themselves and their friends and stuff like that, and they just take advantage of it. And it's funny because a lot of politicians are like lawyers, to begin with. They're in the legal field quite often. I mean, some of them are in business and they have lawyers, there's different things, but so like I said, they pass laws that affect our lives personally. They pass laws that affect corporations, and sometimes they can actually give corporations, an unfair advantage in some situations. But then they manage that big pool of money, that budget. That's your money taken out of your paycheck, okay? It's supposed to be spent on stuff that benefits you, benefits the public. Otherwise, there's no point in giving the money to them. It's kind of like, people really could just pull their own money together. Like, let's say, people want to build roads. They could just pull their own money together in a city and be like, all right, we all got enough money. Now let's pay these, get some contractors to build it. That's basically, it's the same thing. It's just you're going through the government to make that same thing happen. But the thing is, like, the process is kind of removed from the people. It's kind of like we elect these representatives and then they're kind of just like in charge of all that money. And quite often after people are elected, people don't even pay attention after that. They just like let these politicians do whatever they want. And like all day, every day, they're passing different bills. They're deciding, oh, the money's going to go here, 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 there, And half of them are corrupt, dude. And, the truth is, a lot of them are just, they're smooth talkers, They just get up on there. They're like, oh, yeah, like, I'm going to fix everything for everybody. And, they talk trash about the next guy. And then 5 minutes later, they're hugging them. Oh, yeah, we're just, whatever. Like, they just act like it never happened, Like, I mean, they're just crooked. They'll do whatever they need to do in any situation to win favor. You know what I mean? And that's like sociopath behavior, to be honest. But that's what a lot of these politicians do, and they do a good job of it, and good enough to fool people and get elected. And then before you know it, you elected them. They're handling all your money. You know what I mean? Everybody's money. And instead of spending on stuff that helps you, they're spending on stuff that helps themselves or some special interest or something like that. And it's a very corrupt thing. Okay, so that's like the first biggest thing that I wanted to explain. It's really just like that money management. And then, like I said, they borrow money and put it on your tab. Did I say that in this video? Okay, well, if I didn't, I meant to say it. And then, okay, so if they run out of money, they already took money out of your paycheck, whatever, and spend it carelessly, to the point that they have no money left, even though it's trillions of dollars. They'll go and borrow money. They'll issue bonds, get money that they have to pay back when those bonds mature. And how are they going to pay that money when those bonds mature? They're going to say, oh, we're just going to tax more. We're going to take more money from future generations to pay the maturity on these bonds. And it's total, and half the time they're not even spending on stuff that helps you. Half the time they're spending it on themselves, their buddies, whatever, in one way or another, stupid loopholes. And that is like the epitome of corruption. And they're just doing it like all day. And a lot of people don't even pay attention. They're just like, oh yeah, like, we vote for this person, hopefully they're doing a good job. And you don't even pay attention after that. And quite often, the people that get elected, like I said, they're smooth talkers, and they're probably sociopaths. They probably just sit there and, can put on like this nice act or whatever, this facade, when low key, they don't give a rat's ass about you. They don't care at all. They don't, like, I'm telling you, I could tell, I could see it. And you could tell by how they switch. They switch all the time. They're talking trash about this guy 1 second, 10 minutes later, they're best friends. You know what I mean? Like, if you were real, you don't like that guy, you either like the guy or you don't. Like, it's not, and I mean, obviously, it's competition, when they're running, but you could tell some of these people are just like crazy. They don't care. They're sociopaths, they don't care about you. They just want to get in that position of power to leverage that, use it for their own benefit. And, so they do that. They're smooth talkers. And quite often, people are just, naive, they're naive and they're gullible. And they'll vote on these people just based on like some random stuff. They're saying, oh yeah, we're going to fix everything. And it's like, okay. The truth is a lot of people don't understand a lot of stuff, politically. And they just like, well, if somebody just like sounds good or has a nice personality or is charming or something, quite often people vote for that. And guess what? That person might not be the best person to vote for. And, it's actually something that I've seen being pushed. These people are trying to lower the voting age all the way down to like 16. Like 16-year-olds know nothing about politics. I think it should be the opposite. I think the voting age should be raised to like fucking at least like 25 or something, when people have some life experience, but they're trying to do the opposite. They're trying to lower down to like 16, so they can get those naive, gullible votes in there, so they can more easily, slide in all these snakes. You know what I mean? All these snake-like people, these sociopaths, whatever. They want those naive, gullible, impressionable votes. And it just make it easier for them to slide into position. When people actually understand this stuff, they don't fall for that stuff no more. They actually understand like specific topics when it comes to anything political. And so yeah, I've seen a push for that. But yeah, I definitely think the voting age should be raised. I think there might, I think maybe there should be some type of cognitive test, test of just basic knowledge. Like the people who have to take a test to become U.S. citizens, they probably know a lot more about the political system in the U.S. than a lot of citizens. A lot of people that are just born here, they don't get it. They're just here and okay, I'm 16 now, I can vote. Okay, just vote because they saw somebody on TV, kissing a baby or, just being all friendly and charismatic and stuff, whatever, and that's how you get corrupt people. And the thing is, they control so much. They control that huge budget of money that's taken out of your paychecks. They control your money that's supposed to be spent on you, okay? Then they pass laws that affect your life individually, personally. And then they pass laws that affect these corporations and tell all of these big corporations what to do. So you might think some billionaire that runs a giant company is some major important person. But guess what? The politicians, they're telling him what to do. They're on top of that. You know what I mean? And that just shows you how much more important that is. Yet, a lot of these politicians are just these crooked, sociopathic type people just sliding in there just by being charming, getting all these young, naive voters just to vote for them. Oh, yeah, he's such a nice guy. He said he's going to fix everything. He sounds good, And then there's that straight ticket voting when you don't even know who you're voting for. You just, he's on the... You don't even know. You don't even know what their names are. If you vote that straight ticket, you probably don't know 85% of the people on that ticket, and you just broop, broop, and all these people get votes. And I mean, it's such a careless process of voting for the most important people in our society. You might think Jeff Bezos, who runs Amazon, one of the biggest corporations in the world right now. You might think he's super important. Congress tells him what to do, what he can and can't do. Congress passes the laws that will determine how he can conduct business. You know what I mean? They're in a much more influential position. And so for people to just carelessly vote straight ticket or whatever, barely even consider who these people are and vote, that's just careless. I mean, really, if you don't know what you're voting for, don't vote. It's a super important thing. A lot of people say voting's super important. Actually, this is a propaganda campaign I've seen, really. Like I said, they want to lower the voting age, but I remember they kept saying oh yeah, voting's super important, so go vote. It's if it's super important, you shouldn't just tell people just to vote just on a whim, if it's super important, you should tell people, okay, go study diligently these different candidates and only vote for the ones that you truly understand. You know what I mean? You don't just say, oh yeah, voting's super important, just go run out and vote for anybody. That's the opposite of what you should do if it's important. And I mean, I've seen campaigns. I remember when I was younger, they had one on MTV. They called it was Vote or Die. They had Paris Hilton and Puff Daddy. They're Vote or Die, and then Paris Hilton didn't even vote. And it's I'm glad she didn't, because you know what? I don't trust her. But I don't know. Don't vote. Okay, if voting is so important, don't vote unless you know exactly what you're voting for. That's the real, call that should be put out there. You know what I mean? Because those positions are super important. They control so much. They control parts of your personal life. Okay, they control all the money that you give to them, which is a major, big old budget. Okay, and then they control what these businesses can do. They are like the top echelon of the situation, in society. And so many of these people are corrupt, and they're just these sociopathic, charming people. They're just oh yeah, I'm gonna fix everything. I'm gonna go watch me kiss a baby. I love babies. And, oh yeah, I'm gonna, they're just charismatic and whatever. And they get in. They get in because people are like, oh yeah, he just kissed the baby. You see, that's so beautiful. I wish, oh, he's such a good guy. I'm gonna vote for him. It's like, don't do that. Like, don't vote for anybody unless you know like everything that's going on with them, unless you understand their policies and everything, how that's gonna affect stuff. And that's the thing, a lot of people don't understand that stuff. And so the last thing you should be doing is voting. You know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like, hey, like I don't know, just imagine like if people were voting on how to fix a car, let's say, and you know nothing about cars. Why would you vote if you know nothing about cars? If they're voting on like what path should be taken to, repair this vehicle and get it running again, if you don't know anything about cars, you should not be voting, because you'll just be messing up that whole situation. It's the same thing. If you don't understand politics, economics, this or that, you should not be voting, because you'll just mess up the decision-making process. I mean, obviously you're not directly making decisions. It's really, you're electing the representatives that are going to make decisions. But you know what I'm saying. The representatives basically say what policies they, endorse or whatnot. And so indirectly it's the same thing, kind of. And you see what I'm saying? Like, if you don't know about something, don't get involved. Like, and like I said, there's been a push, like a propaganda campaign saying voting's so important, so just go out and vote. We don't care who you vote for. Just go vote on a whim. Those people that are pushing that are the people that want to get in with naive voters' votes. If they were real good people that had real good intention, real good plans to actually fix things, they would not say stuff like that. They would be saying what I'm saying. They say, do not vote unless you really understand stuff. And the people that actually have good ideas and stuff like that, they want you to thoroughly, go over what everybody's saying. So you'll see that the people with bad ideas got bad ideas, and hopefully you'll see that, people with good ideas have good ideas, and that's how you can tell the difference. I mean, that's one easy, test right there. And politics is not about, who's charming. It's about specific courses of action to fix specific situations in our society. You know what I mean? Like I said, they control laws that affect you personally. They manage a giant budget of your money that's supposed to be spent on you. And then they pass laws that affect how business is conducted. Those three are the main things. And if you don't really comprehend what's going on in all three of those areas, you should not be voting, okay? I mean, it's just that simple. So that's, I guess, a general overview of kind of the governmental process. I'm just sitting out here in the middle of the night, just kind of like, it felt necessary to explain. And I was talking about more stuff last night with my buddy, but I don't feel like getting into all that. This was more about the governmental part. We were talking about a whole bunch of other stuff, economic stuff to do with money creation. I might get into a little bit. So it's gonna be like a 2-part thing. But money creation, okay, that's a really important thing, because it's created and it's spent on stuff, and it's so easy to create money. They literally, it's just printed paper these days, or created on computer. And it's created, and the way it's created today is through fractional reserve banking. And that might change in the future. There's different types of money and stuff, but it's so easily created, and then it's traded for real stuff. And man, should I save this one for later? You know what? I'm gonna end this one here, and I'll make a whole video just talking about that, okay? And you'll see it. It'll look just the same. I'm gonna be in the same setting. I'm gonna sit right here. I'm gonna make a whole video explaining just that, okay? So I'm gonna leave it at that. Hope you learned something. Look out for my next video talking about money. I'm out.